There is a huge realignment going on, if you would. I mean, like for years, right? It seemed like Russia was the threat, and that's what we were focused on, and the Middle East, and this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden today, Marco Rubio says some stuff that really has everybody scratching their head, right? There's this new path on Ukraine. It looks like things are going to get settled there. This is unbelievable. So, like, we're reshifting our whole relationship with Russia. And he said, Marco did, our Secretary of State, you know what, we might want to take advantage of this opportunity, this realignment right now, to actually align ourselves with Russia. And I'm like, am I hearing things? I mean, we're talking change, even when it comes to this foreign policy where we're like, Europe, you know, you're kind of like focused on the wrong thing. Maybe this is because we need to reorient towards the bigger threat, which might be China. And do you really want to drive Russia straight into China's arms? I don't think so. I think there's like a higher level chess thing going on right now. And Marco gets it. He's always been a China hawk. Trump obviously gets it. Elon gets it. Everyone gets it except for the Dems, shall we say. Here's Marco.
But ultimately, the Russian side will be indispensable to this effort, and so that process will begin. And then the third is, together with those other two, is beginning to engage in identifying the extraordinary opportunities that exist should this conflict come to a acceptable end, the credible opportunities that exist to partner with the Russians geopolitically on issues of common interest, and frankly economically on issues that hopefully will be good for the world and will also improve our relations in the long term between these two important countries.
Did you hear that? There are issues that we can align ourselves with. This is an important economic opportunity. We need to take advantage of this and realign. I mean, that is a headline, ladies and gentlemen, and you can imagine the left is flipping out. I mean, between the news they got on Elon and now Marco saying this, there's more. I want to play it for you.
For 3.5 years while this conflict has raged, or 3 years while it's raged, no one else has been able to bring something together like what we saw today, because Donald Trump is the only leader in the world that can. So no one is being sidelined here. But President Trump is in a position that he campaigned on to initiate a process that could bring about an end to this conflict. And from that could emerge some very positive things for the United States, for Europe, for Ukraine, for the world. But first it begins by the end of this conflict. And so the only thing President Trump's trying to do is bring about peace. It's what he campaigned on. It's something the world should be thanking President Trump for doing. He's been able to achieve what for 2.5, 3 years, no one else has been able to achieve, which is to begin this process, a serious process. Obviously, a lot of work remains before we have a result, but President Trump's the only one that can do it.
Wow. Okay, so this conflict seems to be coming to an end. A lot of people thinking again that we're trying to reorient and shift strategy away. I look at what's going on with Ukraine. It kind of feels like we're getting 50%, by the way. We're getting 50% of any of the future profits that come out of their mineral mining assets. So it sort of seems like it's like us and Russia taking it over. Maybe we're like less of a threat than NATO. But listen to the Russian ambassador speaking on this. When Donald Trump and Putin had their phone call, he said this was like amazing, revolutionary. And yeah, this thing is coming to an end.
Yesterday, after the phone call between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, are you more hopeful now that there can be real and fundamental change and improvement in U.S.-Russian relations?
What struck me was that now the entire world is in a state of shock, viewing the phone conversation and the news about it as something extraordinary. This shows to what extent the staff of the Biden administration, led by their president and their European satellites, have abandoned dialogue and diplomacy as a method of communication with the outside world, opting instead for threats, sanctions, and the arming of the regime in Kiev to wage war against the Russian Federation.
So it looks as though all of this is changing, and it's changing really fast. So you can imagine the mainstream media is not very happy about this, in part because, you know, as Donald Trump read off all those contracts, you wonder how much they were affected by some of those contracts. They were certainly flipping out over this one. You see J.D. Vance just met with the leader of Germany's far-right party. I mean, it's kind of weird that they see her as so far-right, especially given her background. If you look at Perplexity, they point out she's gay, and, well, she worked at Goldman Sachs. Bank of China, Alliance Global Investors. Okay, so she comes from like sort of this Wall Street background. She's married to another woman. They have 2 sons. She doesn't exactly seem like, you know, the far right, but they're going to go with that because it's expedient, I guess. So they're flipping out that he has a meeting with her. I'm telling you, like, it's all shifting. It's all shifting in real time, you guys. This is amazing. And you know what? The mainstream media doesn't like it. And I think that's had a big part to do with Margaret Brennan, mainstream media, CBS News, Face the Nation, pushing Rubio. She is shocked that he would dare meet with this woman.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
No. Not exactly an accurate reflection, but perhaps the only reflection the mainstream media can default to in this moment of time in their absolute state of panic is everything that they have built up over the last however many years. I think a lot of this started, frankly, with Barack Obama. All of this is getting undone. Boy, it was on steroids for the last 4 years because Biden was asleep at the switch. I guess you could take whatever you wanted under him. Quick shout out to our friends at Balance of Nature. Thank you for the nice compliments on the pink dress, you guys. Thank you. Yeah, I'm I'm shiny today. Listen, in all seriousness, I was just saying to my husband this morning. I was singing. As I got ready, because I went to the opera the other day. So the singing chops are coming back, and I was singing some operatic aria, Mi chiamo no Mimi, actually from La Boheme. And he was like, wow, you just sound great, and da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll do an album. And I said, finally, because I'm not sick this year. This is like the first year ever in as long as I can remember, probably since 2020, when we all got locked up and so you didn't see anyone and therefore you weren't sick. I have not been sick in forever. So I have to credit, the only thing that I've changed in my life is my Balance of Nature, in all seriousness. So Balance of Nature, thank you. They're one of the sponsors of this show. We thank them for that. I thank them for keeping me healthy, knock on wood. And yes, I'm going to actually come out with an album. Maybe this spring. I love singing, right? It was what I did before I ever got into finance or news. So Balance of Nature, my fruits and veggies every single day. You can take them to code word Trish, you guys. Code word Trish. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Obviously, you get 35% off. You get free shipping. Just go to balanceofnature.com. Use code word Trish. You help the show. You help me. And of course, you help yourself.